Yeah. It's gonna be okay. Yay. It's gonna be alright. We do it like this and this tight. Urban Therapy with Sun Show. Whoa, whoa. Yo, how y'all feeling today, man? Sunday. And we are here, baby. Everything's gonna be alright. Yeah. Hold on. Okay. All right. So it's the Urban Therapy with Sun Show, and I'm your host, Sun752. Where's the thing? This is a pain, man. Where we at? Where? I lost my chat room, so I can't see y'all. But it's the way it's gonna be, y'all. We will stand tall, and everything is gonna be okay and all right. We do this thing, and we keep it in flight, and I'm in sight. And everything is gonna be okay. We do it today. Oh, I see what's wrong. Oh, all right. I didn't peep that. I was on Chrome instead of Internet Explorer. My bad. So I'm like, why ain't this thing popping up? But it's here and we okay, and now we can get it going our way. Today on this Sunday, last day of Leo, or so they say. I think we've been jerked, but we gonna eat that. Yo. Today, on this 22nd of August, we are talking about what you would change about the way you grew up. What you would change about the way you grew up. Urban Therapy with Sun Show, baby. Now listen. I'm not saying that the way you grew up is something that you're ashamed of or something that you don't like. But more than likely, there's something about the way you grew up that you would like to change. Because that's a natural way to feel. And that's whether you had it good growing up or you could consider it to have had it good growing up or whether you consider yourself to have had it hard. There are things that happen to us when we grew up that we look back on and we say, you know what? I would change that if I could go back. But even better than that, any effects that I felt about when I was growing up and what happened to me and what I went through or whatever, I'm going to go to therapy or whatever. I'm going to try to fix that. I'm going to try to reconcile that because I feel like it's holding me back. And I'm back in the day at this particular time. I'm going to put the way that I felt when I grew up in a rhyme. I used to be a little short kid, the smallest in my class, and people used to give me the ass to kiss, and I didn't like that, and I said this to them. Yo, we going to do that today. And by the way, I grew and a lot of things that I didn't know I knew. And when I came into the fold and got a little older, I say, I'm going to let you cry on my shoulder because I'm a little bigger, better. And I heat this thing up like a Coca-Cola sweater. In 1986, it was a good look. And I picked one out and I said, ow. All right, y'all. Urban Therapy with Sun. What's going on, y'all? How you feeling? How y'all feeling? Listen. Listen, y'all, we got this thing popping. Urban Therapy with Sun. I gotta get back on track. Like, where am I? Hold on, baby. There I am. I don't know. I'm gonna have to this thing. Okay. There we go. Carol Chamberlain, mi favorita is all up in the house. T. Carey Wright. Morning, noon, and night. It's always great to have my peoples going right in your sight. And Grits and Wavy and Grits is always glad to see us come through because you know you're the Okay, so let's go. Cherry Dana on the Instagram side. Thanks for coming on through. Thanks for coming inside. Word it up. All right, let's get it popping. Urban Therapy with Sun752, and this is the Urban Therapy with Sun Show. We do this every single Sunday from 11 a.m. till around 12:30-ish. And the reason that we say 12:30-ish is because sometimes it gets so heated that we just have to do a little OT on a hump day. On a Sunday. And it is Sunday, last day of Leo, so they say. I mean, I filed for an extension because I don't really think we got our fair shake and our just due. But I understand that starting tomorrow, anyway, At least the last letter of that sign ends in O. You got to take a win where you can get it. Today on the Urban Therapy with Sun Show, we are talking about what you would change about the way you grew up. What you would change about the way you grew up. Shoot, man, you know, when you were younger, all kinds of insecurities could have set in, all kinds of misconceptions, misunderstandings. You know, everybody doesn't cruise through their teenage years and their high school years with flying colors and feels good about the experiences that they had. Some people really had a hard time when they were going through that part in their lives. And that's not even just the way that you grew up. But, you know, some people grew up with strict parents. Some people had to come in, you know, like, you know, when they say, when Ecstasy from Houdini had the song, The Freaks Come Out at Night. And he said, I always had to be home by 10, just when the fun was about to begin. You know, that was a reality for a lot of kids growing up. They didn't have that freedom. They couldn't just go out and have fun and do stuff and have their own way and, you know, and do the things that their friends did. And for some people, that really weighed heavily on them when they really wanted to be out there free and doing their thing and having a good time and experiencing things. And they had to be in the crib. They had to come in the crib. Maybe you grew up as a Jehovah's Witness and you had to do field service. So you was knocking on doors and giving out watchtowers and awakes. And you had to go to Kingdom Hall often and really participate because your parents required that. Or maybe you weren't a Jehovah's Witness, but you had to go to church 3 or 4 times a week. Choir practice. Maybe you were expected to be a preacher growing up because maybe somebody in your family was a preacher and they wanted that for you. And that's not what you wanted. So your career path, your life's path was already predetermined by somebody that wasn't even living your life, but in them not living your life, but they were controlling your life. And they were making your life a living hell. Maybe that's the way you felt about the way you grew up. That might not be the way that you feel about things now, but back then, when you were young and impressionable and just trying to make your mark out there and find yourself, that might have been the deal. So we're going to talk about it. Talk about it. Talk about it. We're going to get into it. And we about to go through it and see how you feel. If you want to talk about it and reveal a lot of things that you felt when you was growing in just a little pup, I'm going to see what's up. Hey, everything is going to be okay one way or another. You, sister and brother and cousins and everybody that's in the fan going to tell you who I was and I'll tell you who I am. Scam, don't get run. We have fun every single day on the show. And I say that I'm glad to be on this platform and I'm heat you up and soft, warm, quiet storm. Everything will be all right. It's going to be like this and that. And we tip the hat and make sure that we step up to the bat and hit it over the plate. And I can't wait until the thing starts to open like stores after the pandemic. We mimic nothing. We make sure that we stay original, me and you. And we do this thing for you. Cherry Dana Dane, Cherry, it's Cinderella Dana Dane. What's going on, Dana Dane? Thanks for coming through. Saw you flip from over here to over there. It's a good look. Sucré chez toi. Sucré JTX. What's going on, man? Good to see me some you. Thanks for coming on through. All right, let's get it popping. Urban Therapy with Sun 752, and this is the Urban Therapy with Sun show. We do this every single Sunday from 11 a.m. till around 12:30-ish. And the reason that we say 12:30-ish is because sometimes it gets so heated that we just have to do a little OT on a Sunday. And it is a Sunday, glorious Sunday. Everything is going to be all right like this Sunday, rainy Sunday, cloudy Sunday. But one day we're going to get it go popping and not fear Monday. All right, so Okay. This is the show where adults come out and play with other adults. We laugh, we cry, we argue, fuss, and fight. Go back and forth with each other, bust it up all crazy. We take an introspective look into our own personality and see the way that the universe projects us into this thing called the world and this life and try to figure it out from there. We play on this in the sandbox and on the merry-go-round and push each other up the sliding board and on the swings, play on the monkey bars and all that kind of stuff. I am your host, Son752, aka Omar with the and if you can't say Omar with the whether you just say Omar with the R, it is the Urban Therapy with Son show, and I'm glad to be here. And we're talking about what you would change about the way you grew up, or what you would change about how you grew up. Many of us harbor a lot of resentment and ill feelings, and sometimes just a whole lot of confusion about what we had to endure when we was growing up. It wasn't as smooth of a process as a lot of people would like to make it seem. You know, some of us had it really hard growing up. And I think that everybody growing up had their challenges, had their struggles, had something that they had to deal with that they really would rather have not had to have dealt with. You know what I mean? It's when you oh shit, this thing all in the way. Hold on. I'm sorry, because I had to pop out this chat, and that's why I couldn't see. I couldn't see y'all, but I can see now. I can see now, and we good now. We good now. Yeah. Each and every one of us had our struggles growing up. Some of us had struggles that nobody would ever want to go through, and many of us had struggles that almost all of us went through. You know, and I'm not talking about the regular physical things like acne. Maybe you had a lot of pimples, or maybe you didn't like your freckles and things like that. We're not talking about the physical things, but there may have been things about the physical things that really had a strong impact on your emotions. Maybe there were things about you that people teased. It could have been anything. It could have been anything from being dark-skinned to having nappy hair. Now, of course, you can't go back and change the fact that you was dark-skinned, and I'm not going to ask you to do no crazy shit like that. But the way that you handled your situation, the way that people handled you, maybe you would go back and change that. Like, you know, nowadays we talk a lot about black is beautiful, and everybody seems to have this great affinity for dark skin and all of that. It just wasn't like that when I was growing up. Not that all dark skinned people got teased, or not like they were looked at as being unattractive, just like now. That's not the case. But they weren't revered, and they weren't looked up to, and they weren't praised, and they weren't encouraged, and they weren't complimented the way that they would have liked to have been back in the day, and the way they may have seen other people get complimented and praised and appreciated and stuff like that. It just didn't happen like that. Now, of course, there are some examples where you can say, well, the people that I grew up, they never teased dark-skinned people. I get all of that. But you know, just like I know, there were plenty of instances where that could have weighed heavily on a dark-skinned person. It wasn't sweet like that. Especially seeing some light-skinned people, some that wasn't even all of that attractive, get all of the shine, get all of the love, get all of the praise, get all of the attention. That's hard. So even though you could not go back and change the fact that, or would not go back and change the fact that you were dark-skinned, maybe you would have changed the way that you handled the situation. Maybe you would have known how to handle it a little better. Maybe you would have known what to say. Like if somebody came along and tried to tease you about being dark, like called you black or something like that. Maybe now you would have been able to come back and have them crying, leaving that situation instead of you. I'm not saying that you cried in that situation, but you might have gone home and cried or lamented or felt bad or wished you had said this or done this or whatever. You know, so maybe you would have changed that. And that's just an example. I'm just, letting y'all know how we laying out the show for today. I'm just letting y'all know how we laying out the show for today. What you would change about how you grew up. Maybe you were timid. Maybe you were reserved. Maybe you were shy. Maybe you were hesitant. Maybe you were scared. And maybe you would change that if you could go back and change that. Maybe you would have stood up for yourself more. Maybe you would have stood up for somebody else who was afraid to stand up for themselves instead of cowering and letting everybody have their own experience. Maybe you would have stood up, but maybe you were too afraid to stand up for somebody. It happens. It happens. So we're going to talk about that kind of stuff today. We're going to get into it. What you would change about how you grew up. Maybe you grew up without a dad. Maybe you knew where dad was, but you couldn't reach your dad. Maybe you knew where your dad was, but you couldn't reach him. In other words, he was accessible to you. No, he was accessible, but he wasn't accessible to you. He didn't come to your games. He didn't check your homework. He didn't ask about you. He didn't come around you. Maybe he didn't even financially support you, but he definitely didn't show you any attention, any love, any parental guidance. Maybe you would change that. Maybe you didn't like that. Maybe that was a real soft spot for you. Some people didn't grow up with their parents at all, raised by their grandparents. Most people would go back and change that. Not saying that your grandparents weren't good people, because I'm sure they were. Most people that I know that were raised by their grandparents really revel in the experience that they had being raised by their grandparents, because the love was there. You know how grandparents are. The love was there. But at the same time, it could have been rough growing up or being raised by your grandparents, because your grandparents might have been really strict. They may have been really much older than you. It could have been the case where your parents were on drugs, so your grandparents had to step in and take care of you. Meanwhile, your parents are alive and well. But they weren't there for you. They weren't alive for you. They weren't living for you. They weren't down for you. They didn't give any attention, any guidance, any instruction, nothing for you. And maybe that's one thing that you didn't like. And perhaps that's something you definitely would have changed if you could go back and change it. Maybe that's something that has stuck with you and you haven't been able to shake. Maybe that's something that you have sought out therapy for or need to. You know, that kind of shit. Maybe that's something that you definitely wanted to make sure that you changed for your offspring, for your children, for your babies, for your kids. Maybe. You know? So that's what we're talking about today. Hey, do you understand the premise that way? That's what we're getting into. If y'all would like to call into the show, I invite y'all to call in, and the number to call is area code 319-527-6199. That's the number to call. I said a 319-527-6199. Yes, y'all. I said a 319-527-6199. Yeah, get on the line. I said a 319-527-6199. Yeah, get your shine, baby. 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 319-527-6199, baby. And it seems like it. I think we have a caller on the line early. Whoa. Well, let's do it. Caller with the last numbers 4828. Welcome to the Urban Therapy with Sun Show. Thank you for holding. What is on your mind? What is on the brain? How you feeling this morning? What's good?
Good morning. How are you?
Yay!
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine. Matter of fact, let me turn you up so everybody else can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So I used to, when I was like in middle school, I used to think that, um, or wish that I could go back and have it so that um, I lived with my dad. But as I became an adult, I realized that, you know, where I grew up and who raised me, that was probably the best option. But when you're young, or sometimes when, even as we get older, we have like these pipe dreams about how things would have been so different, and we don't take certain aspects of the things and the circumstances around us into account when we're dreaming about what if or what could have been. For myself, I realized, that my dad, he had all this love, which he gave freely to me and my brothers. But he wasn't, and this is something that he and I talked about. He wasn't, he didn't have his shit together, in other areas that would have been needed had he had my brother and myself and my brothers full time. And unfortunately, neither did his siblings, and then his mom passed. You know, so he wouldn't have had the guidance of his mother, and his father got remarried. So and then moved down to North Carolina, leaving all the children with the house. So it wouldn't have been a good thing. But of course, when you're like, oh, I want my daddy, you have all these dreams. So that's just reflection. I also used to wonder how my life would have been, or what my life would have been like had I not lived in the neighborhood where I grew up, because there was a lot of racism where I grew up until a certain time. I want to say until the end of the '80s, beginning of the '90s, because it was a predominantly white neighborhood when we first moved there in '82. And then, you had affluent blacks that moved in. It was still classist and racist. It was always something,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So those are two things that I have considered, to have changed in my mind when I've looked back on things. But I've since grown to appreciate those very things, those same things.
Okay. But are there any things that you would actually change if you could? Because it sounds like before you wish you could go back and change it, but now you're saying, what I'm hearing is, no, I wouldn't change it because now I get it. Are there some things left from when you were growing up or how you grew up that you would actually change? Like, no, that ain't no good. You know what I mean? Like that needed to be fixed. Okay.
No, not even how I was taught how to ride a bike. They were rough, man. They were rough. But I learned how to ride that damn bike. I feel like everything that I went through made me who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I were to go back and change something, would I still be as dope? Like,
well,
I don't know.
Well, okay, let me give you an example. Because I realize how this as simple as I tried to make it, it may not be as simple as maybe it is in my mind. One thing I would change about when I was younger is I didn't meet my brothers and sisters until I was 14. Except for the two sisters that I grew up with in the same house, and one brother who my dad had before him and my mom met. So I would go back and change that to way before 14. Now I realize that it would have made things tough between my mom and my dad because my dad had those kids in secrecy. You understand what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it would have blew up the crib earlier than that. But the crib was fucked up anyway. You know what I mean? It ain't like I came from no Ward and what was the other what was Mom Cleaver name?
June.
Yeah, it wasn't that. It ain't like we came from no shit like that. You know what I'm saying? It was already tension. So fuck it. But I would have had a chance to grow up with my brothers and sisters. You understand what I mean? So we would have learned. We would have learned more things. Like I said, taking into consideration, I know it would have complicated some things. But I would have still, I would have still elected to have met them before then, because it would have made things. It would have. We could have. Yeah, I just think it would have been better.
Well, you're saying that. Okay, so if you don't mind, I'd like to kind of say something or ask you a question about that.
Yeah, of course. Okay.
So you said you were 14.
Yeah.
And so, how much earlier would you have preferred to have met them? Like around 7, 8.
Yeah. Some of them, like, okay, by age 14, I already had 2 little brothers. Before then, I didn't have any little brothers. You understand what I mean? So yeah. I would have grown. I would have met them. All right, one of my little brothers is 4 years younger than me, so I would have elected to have met him at birth, because we would essentially have grown up together. You know what I'm saying? Like when I would have been in first grade, when I would have been in 4th grade, he would have been in 1st grade. When I would have been in 8th grade, he would have been in 4th grade. You understand what I mean? So I could have assisted him with some things, more than his older brother, who was 2 years older than me and 6 years older than him. You know what I mean? But it would have. First of all, I just think that all kids who have the same parents should fucking know each other. That's just what I believe.
I understand that. But the reason why I asked that question is because the way a child views the separation of their parents is often determined by the age that they are when their parents separate.
Uh-huh.
And so the way that you internalize your parents, the ending of your parents' relationship, and you getting the new siblings at 14 may not have been how you would have viewed it at 8. You may have resented their presence at 8. Your mind is not as developed as it is at 14. So, I could say the same. I can go back in that respect. I could say, well, I wish I had spent more time with my little brothers as we had gotten older. But I think that had I done that, I may not have made the decision to travel as much as I did as a young adult, where I was traveling all over the world, and I wouldn't have moved to different states because I would have wanted to be closer to my brothers. I wouldn't have wanted to that would have been a huge factor in me staying where I was. Even though I knew I wasn't meant to stay where I was.
Mm-hmm. No, I understand.
So
but see, I'm not okay. I'm talking about what I would change about the way I grew up. Like my parents and all of that. I'm not taking them into consideration. They had their shot. They birthed me. I didn't birth them. So what I'm going back to is what I think would have been best. Because just like you said, I might have resented it at age 7 or 8. I may not have, but at age 14, I resented it a little bit too. But my resentment came more from like, you wait until I'm in high school, like really? Why? And it only happened because it had to happen then. My sister and my brother was going to the same school. He knew about us. We didn't know about him. You understand what I'm saying? Like, yeah. So yeah, I would change that shit. At least it would give me the chance, give me the opportunity to act out or react or whatever. All I'm asking for is the chance. You know what I'm saying? Don't make the decision when there's no other decisions that you can make. So
right.
So yeah, I would have changed that. Like fuck it. There are a whole lot of things that I've had to accept, whether that I've had to accept whether I liked it or not, and that's when I was a child. The same way I didn't like going to bed at 8 or 9 o'clock. I had to go. So me understanding that there were some things that were beyond my control back then and now, I think I would have been able to eat it. But just like I was fed the narrative of the benefit back then, that it was like, I think you'll enjoy having brothers. It'll be a good thing for you. I didn't think so when he said that shit. I was like, "Fuck is you talking about?" But he was right. He was right. And really, not even in the long run, in the short run, it took about a year. But it came right. It came at the right time. So it coming at the right time, it would be easy for me to say that he was right. No, but I'm not going to take that route. I'm not going to say that just because things worked out, then the planning was right. No, the planning wasn't right. You know what I'm saying? The planets were right. You understand what I mean? But if I could go back, I would change that. I would have taken the opportunity to have more support behind me and in front of me, rather than having to fend for myself all that time. So that's just one example, and I'm using that example so you'll understand what my focus really was when I was talking about what you would change. I'm not talking about the things that we've accepted. I'm talking about the things that you have not. No. I would go back and hit that, and some of these, we can say, yeah, well, everything would have changed if we would have went back. My fantasies don't work that way. Like, I ain't worried about all that shit right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't look. There are things that I'm having no control of or knowledge of right now. So why not? You know what I'm saying? I'm not like, I don't know if I would have got with Rona Brown back in 6th grade, if it would have changed the ecosystem. I don't fucking know. I know she was a cutie. You know what I mean? She was a cutie. She was giving me play, and for some reason, even in 8th grade when she came back, something got it fucked up. But that was about my insecurity. Rona was down. I can't even find her on Facebook like what happened to Rona. You know what I'm saying? She's good people.
You better go find Rona.
But seriously, like there are some things that you may have wanted to have changed, even if it was just your reaction to it. That, like, you don't necessarily have to. That's why I said I'm not talking about the physical things, but the way you reacted, the way you felt, the way things affected you. Yeah, you might have wanted to have gone back and changed that. You know what I'm saying? I know that most people who have been physically or sexually assaulted or abused when they grew up, you ain't gonna tell me that they like, well, it had to happen in order. No, the fuck it didn't. No, hell yeah, you should want to go back and change that shit. That's fuck that. You understand what I mean? No, we don't have to accept everything that we grew up like. Well, it's God's way. No, it ain't. And if it is, we gotta change God. Like, yo, God, I listen. I understand, Almighty, and what I'm saying, you created the world, but listen, you gotta fix that because I'm still fucked up. Why wouldn't you want to change something that still affects you almost in the same way today? some people go ahead and accept it, and it doesn't benefit them even to this day. You know, like, all right, let's take people, and listen, I don't want to get on, and anybody out there that smokes a lot of weed and all of that, y'all gonna have to pardon me for this, because I'm not apologetic about it. I mean it. You see people out there, you see people our age or around our age frame, my age frame, whatever, and you see they puff all day, they smoking all day. They did not used to do that shit. You know, they smoked when they could on the weekends. You know, it was more of a recreational, you know what I mean, social thing. Now, every time you turn around, motherfuckers defending getting high all day. They getting high in front of their kids. They getting high in front of the grandmother. The grandmother getting high. She ain't used to do that shit. Everybody is doing that shit. So I'm like, that's the acceptance of things that I can't get with, because I don't give a shit if it's for medicinal purposes or not. An addiction or a habit is not a good thing. It's just not.
Yeah.
It's just not. You can't reconcile that shit. You can't.
Mm-hmm.
But they have gotten so, the weed got them thinking like, well, yeah, you know, like, no shit. This shit damn near legal now. I can almost blow the smoke in a cop face. Like, motherfucker, you can't even spit the alcohol on a cop face. You know what I mean? You ain't gonna tell me that you went from sneaking to smoke the weed, not just for legal reasons, but for social reasons, for responsibility reasons. But now it's like, nah. Yeah. Everybody doing it, so it must be okay. And everybody had to do it for it to be okay. And that's why I'm saying, you know, when we talk about going back, I mean, what we would change about the way we grew up. I'm talking about those types of acceptances. We don't have to accept that. We don't have to accept that everything happened the way it was supposed to happen, because some of that shit is still happening in the mental, even if it's not happening in the physical. You can't have a decent, trusting relationship with your man or your woman, because the horrors of what you have been through are fucking up everything and still haunting you to this day. You wouldn't go back and change that? I would go back and change that for you. Or at the very least, you know, try to change it now.
Mm-hmm.
Try to change that shit now. You know, try to find yourself. Not that same self that has been pervasive for the past 30, 40 years, but the self that has been oppressed and held back and dying to bubble to the surface for decades. Yeah, there's some things we need to go back and change. Even if going back only means going back to today, yesterday, this current hour, later on today. Yeah, but we have to go back and change some of that stuff, because it's some of it is really, really hurting us. So that's mainly what I was talking about. You know,
I understood what you meant when you said it. Okay. It's just that there are things that I've thought about this very subject many times before, because there were times where I said, man, if I could go back and change this, I would change this. And then I think about how it would have affected, you know, myself and the people around me. So, but I understood what you meant when you posted the subject for today.
Okay. So with that being said, what would you change? What would you go back and change?
I had a momentary lapse in confidence. It was very, very short. I was a very, very confident child.
Mm-hmm.
But in sixth grade, I was at a point where I had enough. And if I could go back and change that moment, I would have.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I would. um, the good thing is though that even though I had that moment, I had a teacher who I'm still cool with to this day. My sixth grade writing teacher who pulled me up to the front of the class and was like, "Nah, we're not doing this," because my feelings I put into my writing. And when she read it, she got emotional and she was like, "Mm-mm, nope." It was a white school, very little black kids there, and the black
Mm-hmm.
kids that were there were not very nice. And it was the whole colorism thing, and so I put that into my writing. And she was a short, full figured, an absolute curvy. She ain't like this today's curvy. Um, dark skinned teacher with natural hair. And she pulled me up to the class and was like, you see her, you see me. Basically the stuff that y'all doing and y'all saying, y'all need to stop.
Mm-hmm.
So if I go back and change it, I wouldn't have gained that lifelong friend. But I wouldn't have to experience that feeling that I felt that day.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's pretty much what I'm talking about. Like your reaction, the way you felt.
Mm-hmm.
When you're growing up, regardless of how smart you may be, because there are many geniuses in their youth, undiscovered and discovered. But it doesn't mean that your brain is developed enough to be able to keep the emotional trauma out. You understand what I mean? Like you might you might be a math and English genius or whatever, but that don't mean you smart enough not to get your feelings hurt. Everybody goes through that. And some people are deliberate.
Yeah.
Some people are deliberate in hurting other people's feelings. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
That's what it
And
was about too.
mm-hmm.
They were mad because um, I had won a contest, um, and President
There we
Reagan
go.
like
Mm-hmm.
had read one of my letters. It was on the news, the local news.
Mm.
Uh, um, I had just been published, so and I was in sixth grade, and so they were making a big deal out of it, the principal and everybody or whatever.
Yeah.
And I got more hate from the black kids than I did from the white kids, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm. That's normal.
Well,
Unfortunately,
when you're like 11 years old, you're like, oh, what the hell? Where's this coming from?
yeah. And that's like one of those things that I would go back and change. You know what I'm saying? Like, because, and not necessarily change it for yourself, but not change it physically once again, but change the way that you reacted to that. Because you can't expect an 11-year-old child to understand the reasons for that shit. You know what I mean? You don't understand the hating. We ain't even use that term then.
Yeah.
It was like, my friends are teasing me. Fuck, that's all we know. But some of these kids that aren't my friends are the ones supporting me. Well, this shit is a mind fuck. It ain't cool. I would go back and change that today. Shit, I experienced that shit Friday. And guess what? I expect to experience it again tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it. Not in a positive way. You know what I'm saying? But one thing is a fact is that I know it'll be there when I need it. You can always count on the hate and the dysfunction to be there. Like when it ain't there, it's like, yo, is it sick? If it is sick, it ain't gonna die. It ain't gonna die.
Well, I have a question. Can we go back to a time when we lied, when we knew damn well we shouldn't have lied. I mean, if we
Okay.
just go back in childhood and change and shit.
Okay. All
I
right.
wasn't a big liar, but there were 2 times where I was like, I'm going to have to tell this lie. That's going to be my ass.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a horrible liar, so my mother saw through it, and then she asked me clarifying questions, and I was like, all right, this is what happened. But I've always regretted it. Telling that lie, because she's looking at me like, dog, like, it doesn't even sound believable. So it just made it like he would matter.
Yeah.
It just sounds simple, but you know, I'll go back and change that.
That's interesting.
2 times.
That's interesting. Because
why?
You know, out of all the lies I've told in my life, I don't think there was ever a time that I told a lie where I said I shouldn't have lied. If anything, I'm like, I just picked the wrong lie. I should have. Fuck! I should have. Next time, yeah. I'm like, look, I only lie when I'm in trouble anyway. I ain't no comfortable lies. You know what I mean? So listen, if anything, I'm going to wish the trouble away. You know what I mean? It's getting in the way of my honesty. You know what I'm saying? Fuck trouble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the line is too stressful for me. Everybody thought I was just trying to be grown by telling the truth. I'm not trying. It's too stressful just to not tell the truth. So here it is.
The truth has never got me anywhere, except for the police.
Oh. Well, I'm sure the truth has gotten you somewhere.
No, it didn't, because people don't be believing that shit anyway.
You may not even realize that the truth got you someplace. You may not even realize it.
I'm telling you, it's never got me anywhere. I'll tell you what. The truth always has to be defended. Lies, people believe that shit all day. You know what I'm saying? That's why they call it the comfortable lie. You know what I'm saying? Like, you lie, motherfuckers be like, oh, okay, that's what's up. But you tell the truth, they like, oh, here you go with this bullshit. Show me proof. I need verification. And 5 references. You know what I'm saying?
Isn't that something?
I'm just saying. It might not be that way for everybody, but you know, like shit. I mean, why you think con men don't tell the truth? They like, shit, nobody want that shit. It's no fun. Let me hit them off with these lies and shit and watch me get this money. Yeah, fucked up. It's a fucked up lesson, but that's what we live. So yeah, going back and changing the way what you change about how you grew up. I mean, there are so many ways we can go into this. Like one of the things I wrote on the description is like, maybe, you know, like I said, growing up without a dad, that's a sore spot for a lot of people. Growing up without living with either of your parents, that's a sore spot for some people. And rightfully so. Like, I totally get that. You know what I mean? Like, that's not in any way a knock on whoever raised you. But you were created by a mother and a father. I think you should have the opportunity to be raised and reared by them in a responsible, loving, caring way. That should be a given. It should be automatic, and it's not. We see the effects of young black men, young black children, let me say that, who didn't have the benefit of a positive male figure in their lives growing up. We see the effects of it every day. We see gang violence. We see random violence. We see the numbers of the incarcerated. We see all of the effects of this shit. And it's not just, I'm not one of those types of men to try to blame black women for steering our children in the wrong direction. I'm going to give accountability to both, because both of them may have been affected in the very same way that they are affecting their own children. But when you don't have that strong male influence, that figure, that guidance, it's going to have an effect on you. Not just on what your career path may be, not just on what your choices of a mate may be, but also your ability to be able to conduct business. Like, my mom taught me a lot about how to conduct myself in public and with people and stuff like that. But my dad taught me a whole shit pile about what the expectations of me are from people in corporate America and in the business world. He taught me that. And that's not to say I wouldn't have learned it any other way, but I have to look at I have to look at other people that I worked with, and I see, you can tell they didn't get that shit. It ain't nowhere in them. It ain't nowhere in them. If we want to complain about how our young black men out here are acting like little bitches, we don't have to look any farther than their lack of positive male influence in the home. We don't have to look no farther. It's an actual fact. You know, and that's whether you attribute that to being around a bunch of women in their conversations and interjecting yourself into that, and maybe even being influenced by that female, that feminine energy, that feminine emotion, and you being taught that it's okay for you to feel the same way, and it ain't. You see the way it's playing out. You acting like a bitch, sounding like a bitch, talking like a bitch, dressing like a bitch, and promoting a bunch of bitch shit. If it had been the right man there in your life, he would have told you, no, you're not going to be out here acting like a bitch. That's not how a man does. And that's not how you're going to do it. I'm going to show you how to do it right. But it's so much of it missing in our community that it's almost to the point where we can't stop it. We can't put on the brakes. It has become the norm. It has become expected. You know, these young rappers running around on stage with dresses and skirts and shit. Get the fuck out of here. Nah. That's absence of the male influence. That's absence of the black man in the home. That's all that is. That's all that is. And it's so pervasive that now we defending it. I know it's okay. I mean, everybody don't have to be the same and blah 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 blah. Nah. I know what's missing. And if I could go back, if that was my deal, yeah, I would go back and handle that. I would change that. And because I can't physically change it back then, I'm going to work on how it affected me now. Back then, all the way up until now. Whether that's counseling, whether that's communication, whatever the case may be, whatever I have to do, I'm going to have to research it and try to reconcile it, try to fix it, try to tape that. Give me some duct tape. Men love working with duct tape, right? Yo, my old head, can I get some of that duct tape? Can you show me how to build a house with duct tape? Yeah, young blood, I got you. That's what's missing. That's what we had. I'm sorry about the rant, but you know,
okay.
Yeah, I'm just saying, a lot of our youth have to deal with this, male and female. A lot of these we complain about how the black woman doesn't know how to treat the black man. Well, a lot of black men complain about that shit. But yeah, she don't know because she ain't been shown. Her mama didn't know. She doing the best she can, or as best she could, but she don't know. So she didn't show you. But since her mom seemed to get by with it, you're gonna get by with it. So Now you don't need a man. It's more than just a slogan. It's more than just a motto. It's more than just a feeling. This shit is real out here. We haven't been shown better. That man is missing. So shoot, we can't complain about the job that the woman is doing if the man ain't stepping up to the plate, or he hollering about how things are being done through prison bars or from the bar. You know what I mean? Fuck out of here. Nigga, get involved. That's what we need you to do. We need to get you in. We need you to get involved. And you may not be getting involved because you too busy. Well, maybe you didn't get it when you were younger, and now here you are older, and you trying to lose yourself in a $20 bag of weed, or 20. Well, loud is kind of expensive for what I understand. $25 bag of loud and some Ciroc. I don't know, some alcohol, Hennessy, whatever the fuck, whatever you are doing to self-medicate. What you're not doing is taking on a responsibility to make sure that the generation that comes after you has the tools that they need. So you can't get on the mother of your children or your child for not doing the job that you didn't have any instructions with. Maybe you should get in there and help both of them out. You want to be running around here being called a king and shit? You ain't even acting like a fucking jester. Come on, what you doing? We got enough clowns. We need some ringleaders up in this bitch. Once again, sorry for my rant, but these are some of the things that people that I know have been through, and they might wish to have come through and have changed that if they had the opportunity to. And it's tough, but it could be anything, like, I mean, some people grew up, I don't know, like I said, the physical things are, we live in such a physical existence. Our mind frame is so much on physical things that our reality has become an alternate reality, which has become the dominant reality. When we can't even, it's not like math. What you do on one side, math you have to do on the other side. The reality that we have come up with is so fabricated, it's so false that you can't do on one side what you do with the other. And that's how we know it ain't right. That's it. It ain't adding up. It ain't. Whether you add 2 plus 5 or 5 plus 2, it's going to come out 7. We on some old, all right, we going to add 5 plus 2 on this side, but on this side, we going to add 9 minus 3. But that's 6. I know. But 5 plus 2 is 7. I know. But now this is the way we can do it now. It ain't like it was before. You was looking for 9 minus 2, right? No, we ain't got to do it that way. Now, the 6 is going to look like a 7, and that's good enough. Let's keep counting. That's kind of like what we fucking with. That's kind of like what we fucking with. Transgender shit. Well, I feel like a man. I'm a woman. Or I'm a man. I feel like a woman. So you have to address me and accept me as a woman. That's 5 plus 2 on this side and 9 minus 3 on this side. That's exactly what the fuck that is. You know what I'm saying? I listen, LGBTQ, RST, they can be mad at me all they want. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. And all of this shit had to come from somewhere. So if I could go back and change some of that shit, even though that wasn't what I was going through, but I know that some people would change that, would change some of those things. One thing leads to another. And once we start accepting once we start accepting the negativity, once we start accepting the mathematical equations that don't add up, it takes us in all kinds of places that we ain't got no business being at. And none of those places are very comfortable for us.
Mm-hmm.
You a man. True. Yeah, you a man using a woman's bathroom. And we supposed to be all right with that. What? What about safety? When my baby was, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, it would be me and her just going places a lot of times. And, when she started to get too old for me to be able to take her into my bathroom, that means I had to depend on a random woman, if it was just me and my baby, to take her into the bathroom.
Yeah.
So you mean to tell me that I would, if I was in the same situation in 2021, I might have to entrust another woman to take my baby into a bathroom where there might be a man in there talking about he's a woman?
Yeah.
That doesn't sound very safe to me. It doesn't sound very safe to me.
Yeah, I'm not with that. Mm-hmm. They tried to make accommodations by creating family, like a family bathroom for people who have young children or babies.
Yeah.
And that's great, but that's not everywhere. But yeah, I have not ever felt comfortable with this. And you'll have, because you can have people pretending to be one or the other because they really have, because they're pedophiles. Or they might just be perverts. They just want to see the opposite sex, so they'll pretend like, oh yeah, I identify as a woman, because they really want to see some tatas and asses.
Yeah. 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 I mean, yeah, there's a lot going on today, but it all comes from yesterday. And for some of us, that shit was right in our homes. But abuse, when we start talking about abuse, it goes into so many different realms. It takes on so many different forms, So, whether you're talking about physical abuse, having your ass kicked and being afraid all the time, being battered and bruised, or whether you're talking about being sexually assaulted to the point where, you feel like it's okay to give your body freely because you're so used to somebody taking it anyway, whether it's at your will or against it. So, fuck it. I guess this is just the way. This is how you keep people from threatening to kill you or beat you up or hurt you. You just go ahead and let them do whatever they want to sexually. Yeah, I think some of our youth would go back and change that if they had a chance to. It's not fair. It's not right.
Yeah,
it ain't right, and they couldn't go back and change it today, but they might be able to change it, change how it affects them today. Because believe me, it affects them today. It affects them in the worst way. Nightmares and shit. Man, you know what, man?
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell y'all something. I've been seeing the strangest shit on the internet, on Facebook. I saw some shit yesterday that made my eyes pop out my fucking head. Someone that I know who's a family member put a post on Facebook that was so ill that I thought it was a joke. It said that, all right, it was a woman and she was talking about her husband. And she said that her husband left her for a transvestite, and he came back and stole all her money and credit cards and raped her. She posted this shit. And in the background that she had when she posted it, I almost thought that's what made me think it was some kind of joke. But I was like, even if this was a joke, this is a sick joke. You understand what I mean? Like, this ain't funny.
Yeah.
So I went to her page, and it was more the same of that shit. People was like, "Yo, are you okay?" You know, blah blah blah. You know, somebody, the police need to get involved in this shit. And she had more posts. And the fucked up, craziest part about all of this shit was her main focus was on the money. You're gonna put out there to the world that a man raped you. That is a felonious crime. But your main focus is, yo, you got to give me back my fucking money you stole. I need it all. And I know you got it because you just bought your transvestite boyfriend a new car. I forgot the car that she said, but it was a high-end, vehicle. And I was like, what the fuck? And I think they had like this little company together, whatever. And she said, well, she said, we've always had this type of relationship where he could do whatever he wanted to. He could go out there and be with whoever he wanted to. And I know I'm pretty enough to where, the guys I know really want me, but I ain't into all of that. I'm like, this is way off the chain. Way off the chains. Matter of fact. Yeah. So I'm looking at this shit like, first of all, there's the abuse. She didn't say he molested her or attacked her. She said he raped her. She said it on multiple posts. And she said, I'll stop posting this stuff when you give me back my fucking money. That's what she said. So I'm thinking, like, out of all of this abuse that she has endured, this, what I would consider to be terror. Oh, by the way, she posted a picture of him too. I was like, oh, yo, because this is her husband. So she got pictures of him. She going in that way. It's the weirdest thing. But out of all of this abuse, her biggest thing is, I gotta have this money. I need my money. To me, that's a form of acceptance. Like, all right, yeah, you can fuck me up. You can, kick my door. Oh, yeah, because she said he kicked the door in and all this old shit. Yeah, you can do all of that, but, have my money right. You got to pay for this abuse.
I don't even know what to say.
Yeah.
I usually have something to say, but this is...
Listen, I'm probably wrong for putting it out there, but she put it out there on a public post. It's not a just for friends post. Public.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. She going in.
If he really did that to her, well, do you know her to lie about something like that?
She's a family member of mine, but a distant family member. You know what I mean? It's more like a family member of a family member. Sort of like that.
Okay, but from what you know of her, would she lie about something like that?
I don't know her like that to say, but I will tell you this.
Okay.
It's all of this, praise the Lord. The Lord is my shepherd. No weapon formed against me shall. It's a lot of that.
Prosper. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I remember me and her were going back and forth on a post about 5-6 years ago about she put some post up like, you should never feel ashamed about asking God to bless you with more money because blah 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 blah. And I was like, so it didn't surprise me, or that she was on, like, I need that cash, because evidently that's her validation. But it could be deeper than that. That could not only be her validation, but that may be the reason. That may be the reason for her living. Like, that may be all she has left. Like, right. Yeah, I can't get this life right. I can't get this love right, but I can get this money right.
Mm-hmm. It seems like the cash is her sense of power and control.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. But yeah, so when you talk about now, imagine if you can, what she would go back and change about the way she grew up that has gotten her to here. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you can imagine what she would change about the way she grew up. You cannot calculate somebody else's emotional life, boy, because the things that we thinking, the things that we might be thinking that a person would change about the way they grew up, it might be totally different in print when they write it down. Like, that's what you would change? Like, so you gonna leave this? Yo, but lack of understanding and the inability to be able to find yourself will put you there.
Mm-hmm.
It'll put you right there. Yeah.
Oof. Jeez.
Yeah. It's heavy. It's real heavy. Yeah. And
well, my heart goes out to her. And I'm sorry she doesn't see the value in herself and her life past that dollar bill. Because if she did, she'd be a little bit more furious, or a lot more furious, about the fact that he raped her, and about the fact that he probably was having sex with her while having sex with this man that identifies as a woman. So there are bigger issues at hand here, and she doesn't see the value in herself enough to wish for anything more than that money, and that's a shame.
Back in 2012, 13, somebody putting somebody out there like that wouldn't have surprised me, because that was the flavor of the day. You know what I mean? Nowadays, they tossing people. What, they put me in Facebook jail because I said women are greedy for eating off their men's plates at when they go out to dinner. Like, I got 30 days for that shit. Meanwhile, she get to post that with a picture, multiple posts, and we're not talking about somebody that's in their 20s or 30s. We talking about 50s. Ease. So this is a throwback. So yeah, it's tough. Yeah, but if she could go back and change the way she grew up, ain't no telling what that would look like. Ain't no telling what that was. Ugh. You might, like, seeing that in print, you might be like, what the hell? Yeah. So in everyone's life, it wouldn't even surprise me if somebody who seemed to have grown up with, having everything, being well adjusted and everything. It doesn't even matter if you grew up with the best parental guidance, advice, tutelage, upbringing, and all of that kind of stuff. It doesn't matter if you seemingly had all the resources that you need to ensure your success. There's going to be something about the way you grew up that you wish you could have changed, because nobody can provide for you the emotional pathway that would be perfection in your mind. Nobody can do that for you. You just can't. It can't be done. So there are going to be things. There are going to be struggles for you. You know, sometimes I understand or feel for people who grew up seemingly had it all, had everything. They ain't had everything. A lot of times, listen, man. A lot of times, people who grew up with silver spoons in their mouths and all that kind of stuff. We're talking about a financial situation. Look how many people that you knew who probably grew up in affluent households where they didn't get any love in that household. Yeah, they had money.
Yeah.
All the new fly shit that came out, they could always get it, but they couldn't get a fucking hug. They couldn't get a I love you. They couldn't get a how was your day today. They couldn't get this is how you handle this, that, and the third tomorrow. Couldn't get that. And then you had people. It always intrigues me when I meet people who grew up in the projects. Because, if you grew up in the projects, you grew up around a lot of poverty. I don't care how much you made. You grew up around people who wasn't getting shit. And that's why you stood the chance of being victimized so much. You have people who are low on education.
90 seconds.
When you have people who are low on education and low on funds, you're going to get crime. Violent crime, in fact, but definitely crime in the form of theft and things like that. But you when I meet people in the projects, I have yet to hear somebody say something like, man, I hated growing up in this project and that project. They always give off
60 seconds
an air like they're so proud of where they come from. And I don't blame them for that. But I ain't never heard of nobody coming from no projects where I've said, yo, I wish I grew up in Queensbridge. I wish I grew up in Abbotsford. I wish I grew up in 46th Street. I wish I grew up in Tasker, Passyunk, or Wilson. No, what? No. It's not an enviable situation. And I always wonder, like, if they could go back and change that, would they? Even in secrecy, because evidently there's an obligation there to defend that position. But secretly, I always wondered, they was like, I used to have to fight every fucking day. And that wasn't, some people I knew that grew up in the projects, that was their reality. They had to fight every day. Every fucking day.
I asked the question, and no one I know that grew up in the projects wanted to change the fact that they grew up in the projects.
Mm-hmm.
They, as a matter of fact, they wear it as a badge of honor, and they feel like it makes them tougher, and does all these wonderful and magical things for their street cred. I have a cousin. She can't fight worth a lick. She's drop dead gorgeous. Body is ridiculous. She has never had work done. I mean, but God damn it, she cannot fight worth a lick. But she will tell you, what? I'm from Marcy Projects. What? And say it from my chest, And unfortunately, she can't really back up none of the shit that, she's just a pretty girl from Marcy who everybody knew was smart, and every time she got into some shit, they would fight for her. So I mean, I guess so she defends
Marcy, son.
She's proud of it. Yeah, she's proud of it.
Yeah.
Everybody I know grew up in the project. They like, yeah, I grew up in Hamels. Yeah, I grew up in 40. I grew up in 40 projects. I grew up in, and I'm like, that is not Yeah, but they I don't know.
It is what it is.
I'm sure there's somebody out there who secretly wishes that they didn't.
I'm sure. There's more than shoot. I mean, if you think about how many people you grew up with that never made it out of there alive. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You know, there's some who didn't make it out and they're still alive, and there are plenty that just didn't make it out alive, died at a young age, because that's what living in the projects is all about. Plenty of funerals, plenty of young funerals in the projects, plenty, and a whole lot of court dates, mad court dates for days, mad murals. But you got to paint the murals in somewhere else because you can't paint them on your projects. Housing ain't having it. You got to find another wall. You know what I'm saying? You can't do it. But, I mean, that's just, the truth of the matter. But like, asking somebody if they would change the fact that they grew up in the projects is almost like asking a black person if they would change the fact that they were black growing up. It's like, nah, you got to wear that. Now, of course, one shouldn't have anything to do with the other, but evidently the emotional and the mental and emotional feeling is kind of the same for both. All right. Or similar. By the way, I definitely wouldn't change the fact that I was black, but I would change some things about the black experience. Hell fucking yeah. I'm about to unplug a bunch of shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo.
I do know what you're saying.
Yeah. Before we get out of here, I saw a meme today, and it was Malcolm X saying that they're going to be some black people that we're going to have to leave behind because of this, that, and the third. And I was like, and I actually commented on it. I said, nah, we're going to have to leave damn near everybody behind. Ain't none of us ready. Ain't none of us ready. We ain't ready. Even the most prepared of us, we ain't ready. We ain't ready to go. We ain't ready to forge ahead with the amount of people we have to leave behind. that behind bag heavier than motherfucker, boy. That ready to go, John. Light as shit.
Yep.
Shit, that's the empty paper bag test. The ones that's ready to go. The ones we gotta leave behind, shit, we gotta get another planet to hold them. All right. Listen, I want to thank you for coming through. I appreciate it. For everybody else,
well, thank you for having me.
Oh yeah, it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure. The pleasure was all mine. You have a wonderful day. And no sarcastic form, no doubt. Do the damn thing.
Okay.
All right. For all of you, for all of y'all who came to the show, if I got too far off of the subject matter, I apologize. But in my mind, I felt like I stuck right to it based on what I was trying to get across on this show. So I hope y'all enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed broadcasting it. We have some birthday shout outs to do. Some people were born on this glorious, excuse me, August 22nd, and they deserve to be acknowledged. So let's go about our business of acknowledging them, making them feel special because they are special because they are special because they are SPECIAL. They get the RESPECT. They are SPECIAL. They get the RESPECT. They are SPECIAL. They get the RESPECT. They get number one out the box, Chantel Dodson. Chantel Dodson, happy birthday to you. And also Pamela Randolph Spencer, happy birthday to you. And my girl, comedian Nicole Spain, happy birthday to you. And Massey Griffin, turning 52 years old today. And Shamika Thomas, turning 38 years old today. And Ambrose Grace, happy birthday to you. And Suzette McIntyre, no relation, happy birthday to you. Well, maybe, I don't know. You never know. And also Carolyn Ollie James, turning 56 years old today. And my man Mako Fagans, happy birthday to you. And Donnie Renee Leaks, go get a Donnie. Happy birthday to you. And last but not least, my girl, Kamisha Kimball, turning 39 years old today. I want to say happy birthday to all of you and anyone else out there who shares this birthday on this glorious August 22nd, last day of August. Here are my anchor people. Anywhere out there in the world, worldwide, internationally, and universally, all of y'all go ahead and turn up, but don't turn up too loud. Just turn up loud enough so everybody can hear you. Rock out, rock on into the damn, the rock out, rock on and do the damn, rock out, rock on and do the damn thing. You do your thing, y'all. Represent the queens and kings. You do your thing, y'all. Represent the queens and kings. Good things happen to those who wait. Great things happen to those who grind, and anything can happen to those who go for theirs. So go hard, go for yours, and remember, man, there may be a lot of things that you would wish to go back and change in your life, but hopefully the thing that you would never change in your life is who you are and what potential you have and the greatness that lives inside of you, whether it has been tapped or untapped. If we're still here, if you're still here, there is a reason that you and I and we are still here. And I wish for each and every person out there who is still here to find what it is that they are here for, what they are really here for. Not necessarily what other people's plan for you is or what they think you should do, but what you really know that is in store for you and that you have the potential and the greatness that lives within you to do and to be. So I hope y'all find it. But don't let whatever happened to you back then, if it was bad then, don't let it be bad with you now. You are still here and you have the opportunity to fix it. You have the opportunity to cure it. You have the opportunity to repair it. You have the opportunity to turn it all around and make it work in your favor. And I pray to God that you do. With that being said, man, peace to all my day ones, my everydays, and my brand news. I love y'all to death. Resuscitate y'all. I love you back to life. Please make sure that y'all hit that like button, man. Make sure that y'all share the show. Make sure that y'all subscribe to the channel. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, I appreciate you. We will see y'all tomorrow night, 7 p.m. on the daily go get a mism show. So Blog Talk, we're gonna get you out of there. Holler.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
And for my Instagrammers, Fire Slammer Jammer, thanks for coming through and let me exercise my grammar. And for my YouTubers, y'all know just what the doobers. I see y'all tomorrow at 7. Peace out, my boobers. All right. Peace.